touches on dependent and independent events. Okay, so dependent is, of course, when one event has an effect on the probability of another, so they depend on one another. But independent means that one probability does not have an effect on the next probability, so they keep the same probabilities that they originally had. Okay, so we're going to focus on product rule for independent events. And what that is when two separate events occur, then all we do is multiply their probabilities. So example 1, the first flip on a coin is heads. Okay, what is the probability that the second flip is heads? Okay, so probability the second flip is heads. Well, every single time you toss a coin, the probability is reset. Okay, just because you flip a head once doesn't mean that it erases it from the coin, and then you can only flip the tails. You can actually flip a head time after time after time. So just because the first flip was a heads, this doesn't even matter. Okay, now still the probability would be 1/2. So B, the first 5 flips of a coin are heads. What is the probability that the 6th flip will be heads? Well, probability that the 6th flip is heads. Again, it doesn't matter what the first five flips were. This is independent. Okay, every single time you flip a coin is independent of another time you flip it. The probability is 1/2. And again, we get that from heads and tails. Okay, there's 2 outcomes, so it's 1/2. And what is the probability of tossing heads 6 times in a row? Now, probability of 6 heads. This is when the pure product rule for independent events comes into place. So what you want to do is the first time you roll or flip, you have a probability of 1/2. And the second time you flip, you have a probability of 1/2 again. The third time you flip, probability of 1/2. And you have the probability of 1/2 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Each one of these trials is independent. Therefore, we can just do 1/2 to the exponent 6. If you want to actually solve this, it's 1/64. So there's a 1/64 probability that you get heads 6 times in a row.